3 years after Isabella and I had gone our separate ways, she appeared on my doorstep with her son. She looked impatient, tapping a manicured nail against the doorframe. "So the kid said he likes Uncle Julian more. How long are you going to hold a grudge over that? Just get over it. Let's get remarried." I could only stare at her, my mind a complete blank. When I finally regained my senses, I walked over and picked up my daughter, who was rubbing the sleep from her eyes as she wandered out of her bedroom. Over the stunned expressions of both Isabella and her son, I spoke calmly. "No, I'm already remarried, and I have a child of my own." That night, after tucking my daughter into bed, I was about to lose myself in a video game when the doorbell chimed unexpectedly. I went to the door and peered through the peephole, and for a moment I was sure my eyes were playing tricks on me. Standing there in the hallway was my ex-wife, Isabella, whom I hadn't seen in 3 years. Her long, slender fingers tapped an impatient rhythm on the door. "Alex, open up!" "What are you doing here?" I asked, opening the door but not moving aside. I looked at her, a complicated wave of old memories and new indifference washing over me. 3 years had passed, and it seemed time hadn't dared to touch her. She was still the same vibrant, stunningly beautiful woman I remembered. The instant she saw me, she flinched, just for a second, before that familiar, almost regal arrogance settled back onto her features. "What took you so long?" Without waiting for an invitation, she swept past me into the apartment, her son, Leo, trailing behind her. She cast a look around the living room, a flicker of clear contempt in her eyes. "Alex, is this really what you've been reduced to since our divorce? Living in a place like this? What happened to the villa you received in the settlement? Why aren't you living there?" In reality, this apartment was anything but a step down. It was a multi-million-dollar single-floor residence in a new high-rise, chosen primarily for its 2-minute walking distance to my office. But before I could even begin to explain, Isabella had already made herself comfortable on my sofa. She crossed her long legs elegantly and held out a hand to me, as if it were the most natural and expected thing in the world. "Come here." Isabella's grandfather was Russian, a fact that had blessed her with high, sharp cheekbones and deep-set eyes that always seemed to be sizing you up with an undisguised intensity. Fortunately, the gold-rimmed glasses she wore tended to soften that piercing gaze, lending her an air of cool, aloof glamour. It was that very face that had caused me to fall so completely for her all those years ago, trailing after her like a shadow, determined to make her mine. I frowned, ignoring her gesture. "We made an agreement to stay out of each other's lives after the divorce. What is the meaning of this, showing up here with the kid?" Isabella scoffed, a dismissive sound. "Oh, please. I know you, Alex. You've probably been dying for us to get back together these past 3 years, but we're just too proud to say anything. I admit, maybe I got a little too close to Julian, and the kid said a few things he shouldn't have. But you're a grown man, and you have such a temper. You just up and divorced me over it." She gave Leo a gentle nudge forward. "Leo has missed you terribly all these years. He knows he was wrong. He's always crying about wanting his daddy." I looked down at Leo and my heart felt like a tangled knot of old string. When I left, we had already lived under the same roof for 3 years. In the time since, he'd grown so much that he was almost unrecognizable from the little boy I remembered. The disdain and childish annoyance he once showed me were gone. He carefully raised his eyes to meet mine and whispered, "Daddy, I was wrong. I shouldn't have said I wished you were dead so Uncle Julian could be my dad." He took a hesitant step forward, reaching for my hand, and pleaded softly, "Please come back, Daddy. Leo misses you." I stared at him, my body reacting before my mind could, and took an involuntary step back, avoiding his touch. Leo looked up, his expression full of hurt, as if he couldn't possibly understand why I didn't scoop him up into a hug like I used to. But only I knew the truth. I could never love this child again. I hadn't seen him a single time in 3 years, because just looking at him would instantly transport me back to the day before Isabella and I divorced. I still remember that day with a painful, crystalline clarity. It was already past 11 at night, and he was stubbornly insisting on playing on his iPad. He told me that Uncle Julian had shown him a super fun racing game. I was completely exhausted from a full day of playing with him at the park, but I forced myself to coax him gently. "Leo, let's get some sleep now. We can play again tomorrow, okay?" He refused, whining. After a little more nagging from me, he finally pouted and set the iPad aside. I lay down beside him in his bed, so tired I could barely keep my eyes open. Just as I was about to drift off into a much-needed sleep, I heard him say something under his breath. "It would be better if Daddy died." My eyes snapped open. I thought I must have misheard him. "Leo, what did you just say?" His childish voice, for the first time ever, filled me with a deep, chilling fear and a revulsion that sent a cold sweat down my spine. The moonlight filtering in from the window illuminated his small face. He stared directly at me with his big, grape-like eyes, and said again, word for word, "I said it would be better if Daddy died. Then Mommy could marry Uncle Julian, and he could be my new daddy." He was so young, far too young to even grasp the weight of what he had just said. He closed his eyes and quickly fell into a peaceful sleep. But my own sleepiness had vanished completely. I stared up at the ceiling until my eyes burned. Just as the first light of dawn began to break, Isabella came home. She claimed she had been working late, but she carried the faint, unmistakable scent of Creed Aventus, a men's cologne. It was Julian's signature scent. Normally, I would have started a fight with her, demanding to know where she'd been. But this time I didn't argue or make a scene. I just said to her, my voice quiet and empty, "Isabella, let's get a divorce." I handed her the papers I'd had a lawyer draw up weeks before. I only asked for half of her assets. I didn't ask for Leo. "What is your problem with the kid?" Seeing me avoid Leo now, Isabella couldn't help but frown. "What did he know back then? That was just a kid talking nonsense." I said calmly, "Isabella, take him and go. I'm remarried with a child of my own now." Isabella froze, then slowly raised an eyebrow, a mocking expression spreading across her face. "Alex, your lies are getting more and more careless. That's enough. Even if you don't think about me, you have to think about the child. You raised Leo with your own 2 hands. Back then, you'd panic if he so much as coughed. Are you really willing to let him grow up without a father?" Just as I was about to speak, the bedroom door creaked open. Lily came out, clutching her pink bunny and rubbing her eyes. She froze when she saw the strangers in our living room, then instinctively grabbed my hand and whispered, "Daddy, who are they?" A heavy silence fell over the room. Isabella's body went rigid. Before she could find her voice, Leo charged forward and confronted Lily. "He's my daddy! Who are you?" Lily did not like that one bit. She clutched the bunny's ear tightly with one hand and squeezed my hand with the other. "He's my daddy. You can't call him that. Daddy says I'm his only little treasure." Leo lost his cool and reached out to push Lily. Not one to back down, Lily swung her pink bunny and smacked him with it. I sighed and quickly pulled them apart. Leo was utterly crushed. His eyes reddened and he choked out, "Daddy!" When Lily saw he was about to cry, she decided to get a head start and began wailing herself. Fat tears rolled down her cheeks as she sobbed and reached her little hands out to me. "Daddy, hold me." I paused for only a moment, then bent down and lifted Lily into my arms. Leo stared at me in disbelief. his small body trembling as tears streamed down his face. Patting Lily's back gently, I turned to Isabella. I was telling the truth. I married my current wife right after our divorce. Our daughter is almost 3 now. Remarrying you is out of the question. You should just focus on making things work with Julian. I forced a smile. I'm not just saying that to be spiteful. I genuinely mean it. Isabella shot up from the sofa and strode over to me in a few quick steps. She grabbed my wrist, her face a mask of incredulous, almost laughable disbelief. Impossible, she said, though it was unclear if she was talking to me or to herself. Alex, didn't you love me? Didn't you love our child? How could you marry someone else? How could you have a child with someone else? She quickly composed herself, sized Lily up, and asked in a disbelieving tone, "Where did this child come from?" Before I could answer, Lily rolled her eyes. "You're not my mommy. My mommy is way prettier than you." Isabella's face changed, and her grip on my wrist tightened. I flinched back. "Isabella, let go. You're hurting me." As we struggled, we heard the electronic chime of the front door's fingerprint scanner. With a soft click, the door opened. Chloe walked in. She calmly stepped between Isabella and me, forcing Isabella to release her grip, then gently took Lily from my arms. It was late December, and her black cashmere coat still carried the chill of the outside air, but her hands were warm. Isabella's face was ashen. Chloe glanced at the furious Isabella, her own composure completely unruffled, and curved her lips into a confident smile. "We have company? Why didn't you let me know?" I whispered, "She just showed up with the kid. I have no idea what she's thinking." I felt a pang of sympathy for my daughter. "Lily was already asleep and they woke her up. She has preschool tomorrow." "Then she won't go. She can rest at home for a day," Chloe said, stroking Lily's head. "I was planning on taking her to the amusement park anyway. I'll take tomorrow off too." "Mommy's the best." Lily snuggled into her mother's arms and made a face at Isabella. Isabella watched our little family with a cold expression. She didn't need me to point out the obvious resemblance between Lily and Chloe. Her fists, hanging by her sides, clenched tightly. Her voice was laced with ice. "Alex, you really married her?" "Yes," Chloe answered for me. 3 years ago, at a castle in Tuscany." Her lips curled into a smile, tinged with pity. "I was thinking of inviting you. After all, you are my predecessor, in a way. But Alex said he didn't want to see anyone unpleasant on our big day." To say Isabella looked terrible would be a massive understatement. I glanced at Leo, who still had tear stains on his face, and sighed. "Isabella, we settled everything when we divorced. We don't owe each other anything." "We don't owe each other anything?" Isabella let out a strange, hollow laugh. "Alex, you were the one who said you loved me. You were the one who knelt on the floor like a dog, begging me not to leave. And now you're telling me we don't owe each other anything." She reached for my wrist again, but Chloe blocked her. Chloe grabbed Isabella's wrist, her grip tight. I could see her struggling to control her temper in front of Lily, but the veins on the back of her hand were still bulging. "Please respect my husband." Lily was on the verge of tears again. I moved to stand beside Chloe and stroked Lily's head. "It's okay, sweetheart. Mommy and Daddy are here. Don't be scared." The 3 of us stood together, a united family. Across from us, Isabella and Leo seemed a world away, separated by an uncrossable line. I said quietly, "Isabella, I did love you. And I loved Leo too. Even though he was Julian's child with another woman, I loved him because I thought of him as my own. But I don't love you anymore. And I don't love Leo anymore. I have my own life now. I hope you'll stop trying to interfere with it." Leo burst into tears, looking completely heartbroken. He He wanted to come to me but didn't dare, just stood there sobbing and calling my name over and over. "Daddy, Daddy, please don't leave me." Isabella ignored him. She just stared at me for a long, silent time. Then she smiled, but there was absolutely no warmth in her eyes. "Fine," she said. "You win, Alex. You're ruthless." After Isabella left, Chloe calmly put Lily to bed, told her a story, and kissed her forehead before coming out of the room. The more naturally and calmly she acted, the more scared I felt. That was Chloe for you. When I first met her, I thought she was a mature, elegant, and generous woman. It was only after we got together that I discovered she could be as petty as they come. She'd get jealous if I so much as spoke to another woman for too long. I reached out and playfully tugged at the belt of her silk robe. "Honey?" I whispered, "feeling like it?" She rejected me with a prim, serious expression. "It's too late. I have to work tomorrow." I rolled my eyes internally. "You dress that provocatively just to tease me, don't you?" Usually she was more enthusiastic about getting into bed than anyone. There were always 1 or 2 days a week where we'd go at it so hard I couldn't get out of bed the next day, and she'd take the day off to stay tangled up with me. And now she was talking about work. She was the CEO of her company. Did she really have someone checking to see if she clocked in? This woman was such an actress. I knew her pettiness was flaring up again. I wrapped my arms around her from behind, purring sweet nothings in her ear. "But I want you—" Chloe glanced at me, her voice dripping with sarcasm. "Did you grovel like this for your ex-wife, too?" I shook my head. "No, never. She was a psycho. Let's not talk about her." With one hand, Chloe pushed me onto the bed, looming over me as she untied her robe. "So, who's better, her or me?" Backlit by the bedside lamp, the shadows from her brow bones obscured her expression. I couldn't see her face, only feel her movements growing more and more dominant. Our dirty talk that night took a different turn, circling constantly around my ex-wife. It was as if Isabella had become an unwilling participant in our foreplay. Finally, Chloe held me close and whispered hoarsely in my ear, "Who owns you now? Who do you want?" I cried out, broken and breathless, "Chloe, I only want you." That night, for the first time in a long while, I dreamed of Isabella. Right after the divorce, I dreamed of her almost every night, waking up in tears. But since meeting Chloe, I rarely dreamed of the past. I knew instantly that it was a dream, but I couldn't control it, couldn't wake myself up. I could only watch helplessly as I relived that painful part of my memory again. My story with Isabella wasn't anything new or special. I'd had a crush on her since high school. To get into the same university as her, I spent 3 years studying from dawn till dusk, going from a perfectly average student to consistently being in the top 3 of my class. Finally, I earned my place on the same campus. On orientation day, I worked up the courage to confess my feelings to her, only to find her presenting a sports car filled to the brim with red roses to the valedictorian and most popular guy on campus. That guy was Julian. They had grown up together from families of similar social standing, the textbook definition of childhood sweethearts. They were the kind of people who shined brightly in any crowd, and even I had to admit that they were a perfect match. They were inseparable for all 4 years of college, but being 2 alpha personalities, they inevitably clashed. Isabella was never one to back down, and their cold wars grew longer and longer. Julian couldn't take it anymore. After another fight near graduation, he showed her his acceptance letter from Oxford. With red-rimmed eyes, he told her, "Isabella, if you ask me to stay, I won't go." But Isabella, young and proud, replied casually, "That's great, congratulations. You should go then." And just like that, they went their separate ways. Only after Julian left did Isabella start to feel the pain of his absence. She began drinking heavily, hitting clubs every night, and street racing. That was when I finally got my chance to get close to her. I lost count of how many times I dragged her, dead drunk, out of a noisy bar and painstakingly got her home. I made her hangover soup and cooked her porridge in the morning. Back then, people online would have called me a simp, but I hated that word. I just thought I was in love with her. When you love someone, you naturally want to be good to them. What's wrong with that? At first, Isabella found me annoying. She told me to get lost, to stop doing unnecessary things. But gradually she grew accustomed to having me around and began to tolerate my presence. Once, after a night of heavy drinking, she grabbed my hand and, for the first time, asked me not to leave. Her warm, alcohol-scented breath tickled my ear. Her hands began to wander over my body as she murmured someone else's name. I seized her hands. "Isabella, I'm Alex, not Julian." But she just giggled softly and nibbled on my earlobe. "I know." A shiver ran down my spine, and my grip loosened. I thought, maybe she's finally moved by my devotion. Maybe she's starting to like me, even just a little. Sure enough, the next morning, she stared at the red stain on the white sheets for a long time before saying, "Alex, let's be together." And just like that, with no flowers, no grand confession, nothing remotely romantic, we got together on that chaotic morning. A month later, news broke that her family's company was facing a major financial crisis. I used all my savings and every connection I had to help her pull through. Afterward, she looked at me and said, calmly, "Then let's get married." I was ecstatic, practically stupid with joy. I planned every single detail of the wedding, running around tirelessly. I thought I had finally found my happiness. But I later learned that on the night Isabella got drunk and we slept together, Julian had posted a picture of his new girlfriend on his social media feed. Devastated, she had chosen to marry me. But the child, Leo, was a thorn in my side. Not enough to draw blood, but a dull, persistent ache over the years. Still, I endured it, because I loved her. And I tried my best to love the child. Besides, Julian was in the past. I figured if the three of us lived a good life together, she would eventually forget him, and it was true for a while. With the arrival of the child, Isabella seemed to start settling down. She stopped going out after work and would come home early to be with me and the baby, smiling as she watched me hold him. During our intimate moments at midnight, she would rest her head on my chest and chuckle, "Your muscles are getting harder. Want me to help you relax?" Those intimate days and nights were so beautiful, like a dream I was bound to wake from. I naively immersed myself in that honey-coated poison, believing she had finally, truly fallen in love with me. Then, Julian's father's investments failed, and his family fell from grace. Julian came back to the country. Even now, I don't like to dwell on that period, which was for me a time of almost total darkness. The first thing Julian did upon his return was have dinner with Isabella. He told her the new girlfriend was fake, just a way to get back at her, and that he regretted it deeply. From that day on, Isabella started coming home later and later. Eventually, she started staying out all night. My beautiful dream was shattered by him, effortlessly. But I still endured it for the sake of the child. Leo was growing up day by day. He learned to call me Daddy. He was so attached to me that he wouldn't sleep unless I was the one to put him to bed. He would waddle towards me like a little duckling, chirping, "Daddy, wait for me." As Leo grew, Isabella started taking him out with Julian. The first time I found out, Leo came home with a mountain of new toys and told me excitedly, "Uncle Julian is the best. I want to play with him again." I was stunned. Isabella said nonchalantly, "We just ran into Julian today. He said it was his first time meeting Leo, so we bought him a few extra toys." That night, when she tried to be intimate with me, I smelled the lingering scent of men's cologne on her skin. I shoved her away and ran to the bathroom, where I retched my guts out. Isabella stood behind me, her face dark. "Alex, are you disgusted by me?" I leaned on the toilet for a long time before standing up and seeing my pale, gaunt face in the mirror. I slept in the guest room that night. From then on, Isabella and I slept in separate rooms. I forbade Isabella from taking Leo to see Julian, but I couldn't stop Julian from repeatedly telling Isabella he wanted to see the boy. I lost it over this, throwing all my dignity away. I smashed everything in the house and screamed at her in a complete breakdown. Leo cried in terror off to the side, yelling, "I don't want Daddy. I want Uncle Julian. Mommy, take me to see Uncle Julian." Watching him sob uncontrollably, I felt my insides burn, my heart shatter into a million pieces. Because I wanted to instill good habits in Leo, I limited his snacks, didn't let him buy toys indiscriminately, taught him to read, and restricted his TV and iPad time to protect his eyesight. All Julian had to do was play with him, let him eat whatever he wanted, and indulge his every whim, and this clueless child became more and more dependent on him each day. He started to resist me more and more, looking forward to his meetings with Julian. I even overheard him secretly ask Isabella, "Mommy, I don't like Daddy. Can you make him go away so Uncle Julian can be my dad?" Isabella said nothing. That night, I didn't put Leo to bed. I stayed in my room and cried all night long. I didn't know how my life had come to this. The woman I loved, the child I had poured my heart into raising, both had abandoned me for someone else without a second thought. And then came Leo's final words. He wished I would die, so Julian could be his father. I thought I would be heartbroken, but strangely, I wasn't. I just felt exhausted, as if all my strength had been completely drained away. I couldn't even keep my eyelids open. Looking back, it felt like I had been walking a lonely path all along, forcing myself on something that was never meant for me. I had reached my breaking point. And suddenly, I understood. If you can't force it, you have to let it go. I gave Isabella the divorce papers. She thought I would fight her for custody of Leo, but I just said calmly, "I don't want him, and I don't want you." Chloe loved collecting and was a regular at high-end auctions. I usually wasn't interested in such events, but this time I saw a unique Patek Philippe watch in the catalog that caught my eye. It was a one-of-a-kind piece with a pink diamond dial, and my heart immediately started to race. Chloe loved giving me gifts, especially luxury watches and cufflinks. Over time, I had started to develop a taste for these expensive, beautiful things myself. She noticed my gaze. "Like it?" I nodded. "Honey, can you bid on it for me?" The moment the words left my mouth, I froze. When I was with Isabella, I was always the one taking care of her. I never asked her for anything, probably because I subconsciously knew that making demands was a privilege reserved for the one who is truly loved. But in my 3 years with Chloe, I had become more and more comfortable asking for things, almost shamelessly so. Chloe smiled. "Of course." The watch's opening bid was $1.2 million. After a long wait, the bidding for that item finally began. Someone raised their paddle. $1.3 million. $1.4 million. $1.5 million. $1.8 million. Chloe raised her paddle. $2 million. Just then, a familiar voice came from the side. $2.1 million. I instinctively turned to look. Julian was leaning against Isabella, and it was Isabella who had raised the paddle. She shot me a smug, triumphant smile. 3 years had passed, and she seemed even more beautiful. Her hair was a cascade of glossy waves, and she wore a tailored women's suit that gave her a more mature, sophisticated air. Chloe's expression didn't change as she raised her paddle again. Julian twirled a strand of Isabella's hair and said with a grin, "Isabella, I love that watch too. Will you buy it for me?" Isabella glanced at me. I turned my head away, my face cold. What rotten luck. She continued to bid, and the price quickly soared past $2.3 million. The two women were now locked in a battle of wills. The watch was worth maybe $3 million at most, yet they had driven the price up to over $5 million. The auctioneer's face was frozen in a delighted grin. I grabbed Chloe's hand, stopping her from bidding again. When she tried to use her other hand, I gritted my teeth and forced a smile. "Honey, I don't even want the watch anymore. How about you just transfer that $5 million to my account instead?" She looked at me, frowning. "I don't want to lose." "But I do," I said, getting anxious. "Your money is my money, and it pains me to see it wasted. If you raise that paddle again, you're sleeping on the couch." Chloe reluctantly lowered her paddle. Isabella smiled, completely satisfied. Without the watch, the auction became dull. Chloe and I decided to leave early, but at the exit we ran into Isabella, who was having a cigarette. Her eyes fell on Chloe, her tone mocking. "I thought Chloe Lynn was so generous. Turns out not so much." I linked my arm with Chloe's. "I was the one who told her to stop. It's our money. Why should I pay for your little ego trip?" Chloe smiled sweetly. "My husband is quite frugal. He knows how hard I work for my money." Isabella's face fell. She ignored Julian, who was standing beside her, and instead asked me, "You liked that watch?" "Duh." This woman seemed to have lost her mind. I couldn't for the life of me remember what I ever saw in her. I couldn't be bothered to talk to her anymore, so I turned and left with Chloe. On Leo's birthday, Isabella called me. For the first time, her tone was sincere, almost pleading. "The boy is 6 now, and he's been missing you terribly these past few days, waking up crying at night. I know you have a new family, but you did raise Leo. Could you please come see him?" I hesitated for a moment, but I went. I didn't love Leo anymore, but I had once invested real feelings in him. There was still a sliver of a bond. After being away for 3 years, I had no idea what he liked anymore. I passed a mall on the way and just picked up a Lego set. Stepping back into the villa where I had once lived felt surreal. Traces of me hadn't been completely erased. The cushions on the sofa were the ones I had picked, and the carpet was the same one I'd bought before I left. The table was set for dinner. Isabella and Leo were waiting for me at the door, just like the happy family life I used to dream of. Isabella's eyes curved into a smile. "You're here." Leo was overjoyed. He started to run towards me for a hug, but stopped himself cautiously, saying, "Daddy, I missed you so much." I handed Leo the gift box. "Happy birthday." He took it happily, his eyes widening in surprise. "It's a Lego sports car! I love it!" He beamed with such genuine joy, as if he truly loved my gift. But I couldn't bring myself to smile. I remembered when he was little, how I would meticulously plan every birthday for him. Balloons, gifts, decorations. He would just pout, toss my gift aside, and turn to Isabella. "Mommy, where's the gift Uncle Julian got me?" That gift I gave him remained unopened until the day I left. It just sat there in a corner, collecting dust. Now I had just bought something on a whim, and he was ecstatic. The irony was bitter. The food tonight tasted a bit off. One dish in particular, the steak, was slightly burnt. I frowned. Did the housekeeper make this? Isabella took a sip of wine, her voice softer. I did. I was stunned. In all the years I was with Isabella, I had never once seen her cook. Even when I was sick and our housekeeper happened to be on vacation, she never offered to make me so much as a bowl of porridge. A sarcastic smile tugged at my lips. It really is obvious when someone loves you and when they don't. After getting together with Julian, she had even learned to cook. Seeing my expression darken, Isabella fell silent, unsure of what she had done wrong. She started putting food on my plate. This lobster isn't burnt. It's cooked perfectly. Try it. I glanced at the sizzling lobster. Isabella, I'm allergic to shellfish. Her hand froze mid-air, and she awkwardly withdrew it. Sorry. Leo, ever the observant one, put a piece of fish on my plate. Daddy, eat some fish. I paused, then ate the piece of fish. Leo's face lit up with a smile. After a while, Isabella suddenly looked up, her voice a bit hoarse. Alex, I'm sorry. I looked at her, confused. I was a terrible wife, wasn't I? When we were together, you were the one taking care of me and the child. I just took your efforts for granted. You knew all my preferences. I still remember how every dish you made was something Leo and I loved. But after all these years, I never even knew you were allergic to shellfish. A faint bitterness rose in my chest. I knew I was completely over Isabella, but unearthing those buried feelings of resentment and pain still left me with a complicated mix of emotions. It's okay, I said, looking down to avoid her gaze. It's all in the past. Not forgiven. Just that I no longer cared. After dinner, Isabella brought out a cake and lit the candles. Leo closed his eyes, clasped his hands together, and made a wish. After he blew out the candles, Isabella asked casually, "What did you wish for? You took so long." Leo bit his lower lip. I wished for Mommy and Daddy to get back together, and for Daddy to come home. My hand froze. Isabella didn't say anything either. The atmosphere grew awkward. Leo looked up at me. I stroked his head. Make another wish. The smile on his face vanished. He grabbed my hand, flustered and lost, his voice tinged with tears. Daddy. Isabella suddenly got up and brought over a velvet box, handing it to me. I saw you liked this the other day. I've missed all your birthdays these past few years. Consider this making up for it. I opened the box. The Patek Philippe watch lay quietly on the dark blue velvet lining, every facet of its dial gleaming with a low-key, luxurious light. My eyes widened. Didn't you buy this for Julian? Isabella bit her lip. I bought it for you. Before she could say more, the front door was pushed open. An expressionless Julian stood in the doorway. He glanced at the box in my hands and sneered. No wonder I couldn't find this watch after the auction, so it wasn't for me. Isabella looked displeased. He sauntered over, looking down at me with cold, mocking eyes. Alex, I thought you had more pride than this. After all these years, are you still this pathetic? I laughed. On what grounds are you saying this to me? As the other man who broke up a marriage? Julian sneered back. The one who isn't loved is the real third wheel. Oh? I raised an eyebrow. If you two are so in love, why haven't you gotten married in the 3 years since our divorce? I shook the watch box. Is it because you don't want to? Julian's face changed instantly. Just as he was about to speak, Isabella cut him off with a frown. Didn't I tell you not to come over anymore? I even changed the code. How did you get in? Julian's expression soured even more. You told me not to come because you were going to be with him? Isabella, you're divorced. Don't you remember what you told me? You said you were only with him because I had a new girlfriend, that you were just trying to spite me. You said you didn't love him at all. You said you regretted marrying him so quickly. Enough! Isabella cut him off sharply. Get out! Julian stared at her in disbelief, then quickly knelt to grab Leo, forcing a smile onto his face. Happy birthday, Leo. Uncle Julian bought you a present. Want to see? Leo's face was devoid of any smile. He took a step back, pulling away from Julian's hand. No, Daddy already gave me a present. Well then, want to go to the amusement park? I promised you. Uncle Julian will take you to the amusement park, okay? Leo ran to my side and grabbed my hand, shouting, No! I want Daddy to take me! Go away! I don't want to be with you! Julian swayed on his feet. He suddenly gritted his teeth and glared at me. Alex, was it you? Did you say something about me? He lunged at me, his fist aimed at my face, but I caught his wrist firmly. With a swift motion, I slapped him hard across the face. The sharp sound echoed in the room. Julian clutched his cheek, his eyes wide with a venomous hatred that seemed to spill out. I looked at him. That slap was for knowingly being a homewrecker and destroying someone's family. I've trained in martial arts. If you're looking for another beating, I won't hold back. Julian's knuckles turned white as he clenched his fists, but he didn't dare make another move. Isabella, he said, his voice trembling with feigned hurt. Isabella shrugged. He's telling the truth. He's been training since high school. If he really wanted to beat you up, I couldn't stop him. Julian's eyes reddened. After a moment, he snatched his coat and fled in disgrace. After dinner, Leo was so tired he could barely keep his eyes open, but he clung to my sleeve, refusing to let go, leaning against me dependently. Looking at his profile, I suddenly remembered how much he had relied on me when he first came into our home. But in the end, he grew to resemble his mother more and more. Perhaps our father-son bond was just too shallow. I gently pulled my sleeve away. I have to go, I said softly. My daughter is waiting for me at home. Tears welled up in Leo's eyes, but he fought to keep them from falling. He just whispered, Will you come see me again, Daddy? I thought for a moment. We'll see, if I have time. He nodded obediently, his eyes full of reluctance as he watched Isabella see me out. That night I did something I hadn't done in ages and called my best friend Mark to ask what was really going on between Isabella and Julian. I had assumed she would marry Julian right after our divorce, but surprisingly, after 3 years, their relationship seemed to have soured. Mark sighed. Who knows? She cheated on you with Julian during the marriage, so we all thought they were desperately in love. I heard Julian proposed several times, but Isabella never responded. No idea what she's thinking. I have a feeling they're about to break up. Back then, Julian was only trying to win over Leo to force your hand in the divorce. After you left, he found having a stepson to be a hassle and started wanting a child of his own. Isabella disagreed, and they fought about it several times. She even told us she regretted divorcing you. I remember Julian yelled at Leo once because the kid said he missed you. With you out of the picture, he had no reason to suck up to him anymore. There's no way he could genuinely love a child raised by his rival. Now that the boy is older and wiser, and people have been talking in his ear, he knows what's what and has started to distance himself from Julian. So that's how it was. I couldn't help but find it laughable. When I, the outsider, was around, the three of them were so united against me. Now that I was gone, they were fighting amongst themselves. But that was none of my business anymore. I held Lily as she slept, watching her tiny fingers curl around mine, my heart filled with a warm, gentle love. Lily's full name was Lily Valentine. It reflected my love for her mother, Chloe. This child was the fruit of our love. She would never break my heart the way Leo had. I often felt grateful for her birth. Grateful that she gave me a chance to love someone with all my heart. I didn't take the watch, but Isabella had it sent to my house anyway. I was stressing about what to do with it when Chloe came home and saw it. She was impassive. She sent this to you? I quickly explained. I refused it, but she insisted on sending it over. I'll have someone return it to her. Chloe walked over, toying with the watch, and sneered. She's certainly generous. A $5 million item given away just like that. If she had been this good to you from the start, where would I even fit in? It's like watering the crops after the kid has died of thirst. What was she doing before? I'll return it to her. It's no trouble, just on my way. I couldn't help but mumble. Who's thanking you? What? Chloe asked. Nothing. I said thank you. You're saving me from a huge headache. I didn't give it another thought. A few days later, I came home to find a small box on the table. I opened it. It was another Patek Philippe watch, but this one's design was even more exquisite, with a larger dial. Chloe came out of the bedroom and slowly fastened the watch on my wrist. Custom made from Switzerland, the only one in the world, $14 million. Seeing my silence, she added, "It's better than hers. Hers was a second-hand piece from an auction house." I didn't know whether to laugh or cry. My heart felt both sour and warm. A woman's competitive spirit is a terrifying thing. Chloe hugged me from behind. Her cedar-scented perfume, with its cool, crisp notes, enveloped me. She buried her chin in my shoulder. Anything she can give you, I can give you. Don't think about her anymore. I turned and hugged her back, moved. I'm not thinking about her. I only think about you. Oh? Chloe raised an eyebrow, guiding my hand slowly downward. And what part of your wife are you thinking about? That night I was exhausted. Chloe flipped me over, promising, "Last time, your wife just bought you a watch you love. Don't I deserve a little reward?" As dawn approached, I tossed the watch at her face and kicked her. "Take your watch and get out!" When I took Lily to the amusement park, I didn't expect to run into Isabella and Leo. Julian was trailing behind them. The world is a small place. I hadn't seen them in 3 years, and now I was bumping into them every few days. Leo's eyes lit up at first. Then he hesitantly ran over. "Daddy, can I join you?" I looked at him, remembering how I had wanted to take him to an amusement park before the divorce. But back then, he had just told me disdainfully, "Uncle Julian already took me. He said he'll take me again next week." Now he knew to ask to come with me. Before I could say anything, Lily got angry and pushed Leo with her small hands. "He's my daddy! I hate you! Go away! Daddy, don't let him come with us!" I was caught in the middle. In the end, it was Isabella who walked over and pulled Leo away. "Don't bother your father." Leo burst into tears on the spot. His bright dark eyes dimmed as tears splashed onto the ground. He clung to the corner of my shirt, unable to hold back any longer. "But you're my daddy. I'm your child, too. Why can't you come back and be with me?" I looked at him for a long time and said softly, "Because this is what you chose. You wished for Daddy to die, for Uncle Julian to become your new dad. Isn't this what you wanted?" Isabella lowered her gaze. Leo was sobbing, gasping for breath. "I'm sorry, Daddy. I know I was wrong now. They said Uncle Julian was just pretending in front of me. They said a stepfather would never truly be good to me, that you were the only one who was really good to me. I know I was wrong. Can you please come back?" A flash of embarrassment and resentment crossed Julian's face. Leo cried so miserably, his small body convulsing like an abandoned puppy. But my heart felt nothing. Sometimes I wondered if I was too cruel. Seeing him like this, I only thought he was just as selfish as his mother. Yes, selfish. He probably didn't regret what he said to me, just as Isabella didn't truly regret how she had treated me. They regretted losing me, the person who had loved them unconditionally. People have a natural instinct for self-preservation. They had just discovered that there was no one else in the world who would love them as wholeheartedly as I did. But it's too late. I gently pried his small hand off me and said to him, and to Isabella, "You have to understand one thing. In this world, no one is obligated to wait forever for you to come back." Isabella's face was pale. She looked like she wanted to say something, opened her mouth, but nothing came out. Julian rushed over, trying to grab Leo. "How about Uncle Julian keeps you company? I'll take you on any ride you want today." "I don't want you!" Leo yelled, flinging his hand away. "It's all your fault. If it weren't for you, Daddy wouldn't have left. I don't want you to be my dad. You made me lose my dad." People around us turned to stare in surprise. Many stopped, pointing at Julian and whispering among themselves. Julian's face flushed red. He violently shook off Leo's hand and stormed away. I picked up Lily. "Come on, let's go. Daddy will take you on whatever you want to ride today." Lily nodded happily. "Okay?" She didn't forget to turn back and make a face at Leo. "Daddy doesn't want you anymore." Leo completely broke down, sitting on the ground and wailing. Leaving the amusement park, I suddenly had to use the restroom. I told Chloe to watch Lily and went ahead. As I came out, a powerful force suddenly came from behind. A damp cloth with a pungent, chemical smell was pressed over my nose. A few seconds later, I lost consciousness. When I woke up, I was in a dirty, dark storage room. My mouth was stuffed with a rag, and my hands were tied tightly behind my back. A bald, dark-skinned man saw me wake up, ripped the rag from my mouth, and pointed his phone at me. "Boss, we got the guy you wanted. We'll send you the video in a bit, then you can settle the rest of the payment with us." I was confused and asked tentatively, "Did you kidnap me to get money from Chloe Lynn?" Another man, skinny as a monkey, approached me with a lewd grin. "Why ask so many questions? You just messed with the wrong person. Someone's paying us to entertain you properly." Didn't expect a grown man to be so handsome. His small, beady eyes roamed up and down my body, glinting with a disgusting light. "The boss loves this type. Exciting." As he spoke, his hand reached for me and ripped my shirt open. My eyes widened in horror, but my hands and feet were bound, and I couldn't struggle. Just as I was about to lose hope, the door was kicked open with a loud bang. A breathless Isabella stood silhouetted against the light. Without a word, she rushed in and kicked the skinny man square in the face. He hit the ground with a sickening thud. The bald man was stunned for a moment, then grabbed a nearby steel pipe and swung it at Isabella. Isabella dodged to the side. "Isabella!" Just then, I noticed 2 more men had entered behind her, holding knives. Isabella couldn't turn in time and was slashed across the back. She let out a muffled grunt, but ignored her injury. She spun around, locking one man in a chokehold with her elbow, taking him down, then rolling over his back to kick the other one down. Then she pulled me up. "Go!" Night had fallen. We stumbled through a muddy path, and after what felt like an eternity, I couldn't run another step. My legs gave out, and I collapsed. After catching my breath for a while, I realized we had run into a dense forest. It was eerily silent, not even a bird chirping. "Why did you come?" I asked Isabella after I had recovered. "I saw you being dragged into a car as I was leaving. I immediately drove after you." Her breathing gradually returned to normal. She tentatively took my hand. "Don't be afraid. I called the police. They should be here soon." It was only then that I smelled the faint scent of blood. "Right, you were injured just now, weren't you? Let me see." But my phone had been taken, and hers was lost during the fight. In the faint moonlight, I could only see that the wound on her back was long and still bleeding. I thought for a moment, then had Isabella tear off the sleeve of her shirt to apply pressure and bandage the wound. "It's a pretty serious injury. You need to go to a hospital. But which way should we go?" I looked around. In the pitch-black darkness, it was impossible to tell which direction was which. "Let's rest for a while." "It's okay, the bleeding will stop soon." Fortunately, she was in good shape. Soon enough, the bleeding lessened, but she had already lost a lot of blood, and her hands were cold. Her voice was weak. My heart was a mix of emotions. Why did you come? I was divorced from her. I had nothing to do with her anymore. Yet she had risked her life to save me. I don't know, Isabella said, seeming a bit lost herself. My body moved before my brain could even process it. I fell silent. The early spring night was still cold. She was injured, so to keep her warm, I scooted closer, trying to warm her with my body heat. The faint scent of women's perfume mingled with the smell of blood in the air. Isabella didn't speak. After a long time, she said hoarsely, I once dreamed about you. We were leaning against each other, just like this, but when the sun came up, you were gone. I didn't say anything. I didn't know what to say. We once had so many intimate nights, whispering in each other's ears, but later we drifted apart. She grew tired of me, I hated her, and in the end, it was just a mess that ended abruptly. Now, leaning against each other again, there was neither love nor hate, only a profound sense of melancholy. Isabella's hand holding mine trembled slightly. Alex, I know I was wrong. Can you come back? I shouldn't have gotten entangled with Julian. I couldn't accept that he dumped me, couldn't stand that he found someone new so quickly. My biggest regret is using your love for me to get revenge on him. It was only after you left that I realized I was just bitter about him. The truth is, her voice held a barely perceptible sob. The truth is, I fell in love with you a long time ago. I was just too stupid to realize it. I really regret it. She held my hand tightly, and a hot tear fell onto my skin. Please, can you come back? I'll spend the rest of my life making up for what I owe you. I'll never hurt you again, okay? Her words were humble, her back bent. She was begging me, but I just touched the wound on her back. Isabella, do you think this will leave a scar after it heals? She seemed to sense what I was about to say, and her sobs grew more intense. I said lightly, I believe what you're saying. It's just that here, I pointed to my heart, the wounds I have here will never go away. Every moment with you would just constantly remind me of the past. Alex. Isabella's voice trembled uncontrollably. I could imagine the expression on her face, because during those years with her, I had looked at her with that same expression countless times. But I continued, and most importantly, I'm not in love with you anymore. As I said those words, I suddenly felt the shackles that had bound me for so many years disappear. The more I spoke, the lighter I felt, until I felt a sense of complete release. I looked at her. I have a new love. She loves me very much, and I love her very much. Isabella, let the past truly be the past. Isabella's injury wasn't serious, but her head had a mild concussion from where Chloe had hit her. At the break of dawn, the police and a dust-covered Chloe finally found us. She punched Isabella square in the face, her eyes cold. Your pretty boy hired those men, she said frigidly. He wanted them to film themselves humiliating Alex. He thought if you saw the video, you'd finally get over him. If you can't control your man, then I will. Julian's plan was to have the video filmed, have me dumped somewhere random, and have the men disappear with the money. No one would ever trace it back to him. When his plan was exposed, he knew he was in trouble and fled to Southeast Asia overnight. But there, he crossed a local gang, had his tendons cut, and was condemned to a wheelchair for the rest of his life. We never heard from him again, but it wasn't hard to imagine what would become of him. He would probably live in darkness forever, unable to escape until he died. I asked Chloe who did it. She said innocently, I only run clean businesses. I'm a law-abiding citizen. Why would you think that of me? It must have been Isabella. I told you she was no good. When I asked Isabella, she sneered. He was taken out before I even had a chance to make a move. You think your precious little wife is some saint? She's a calculating schemer. In the end, I never found out who did it and had to drop the subject. When the willows turned green, Chloe suddenly said she wanted to go abroad for a while. The business is expanding. I want to open a few more branches in France. Besides, you've always wanted to see the lavender fields in Provence, haven't you? The three of us can go together. I looked up at her. Is that the real reason? Fine, she said calmly. Don't you think your ex-wife has been bothering you a little too much lately? But the new branches are real too. How about a change of scenery, a change of mood? I thought about it, and finally agreed. Chloe was right. A change of scenery, a change of mood. This place held countless memories for me, good and bad. It was time to move on. On the day we left, I thought I saw Isabella and Leo at the airport. But when I looked again, the two figures seemed to have disappeared. "Daddy," Lily said, pulling my hand excitedly, "it's time to go." I nodded, pulling my gaze away. Like I said before, what's past is past. Before boarding, I received a text message. "If she's not good to you, come back. You said no one is obligated to wait for someone forever." "That's not true. I will always wait for you." I looked down and deleted the message. Chloe looked over. "Who was that?" I smiled. "Nothing, just spam." The year Leo went to college, I saw Isabella again. We had kept in touch over the years, but only because of our children. She was over 40 now, but time hadn't diminished her beauty. Instead, it had added a touch of mature elegance. The former party girl had shed her sharp edges and dedicated herself to raising her child, truly becoming a model single mother. At the celebration dinner, I took a sip of my drink and said to Isabella, "I hear you haven't had anyone by your side all these years?" "I still have my son with me, so I'm not really lonely." "Now that he's off to college, are you sure you don't want to find someone?" She just smiled. "I'm used to it. Is she still good to you?" I nodded. "Better than ever. She just bought me a chateau in France a few days ago." "That's good." She held her glass, and I couldn't tell who she was talking to. "That's good." After a few drinks, Chloe sent me a message. "Here to pick you up. The car's out front." I grabbed my coat. "I should get going." Isabella stood up. "I'll walk you out." It had started raining at some point. I jogged towards the exit. Behind me, Isabella suddenly called out, "Alex!" I think she said something, but the rain was too loud, and I couldn't hear. I turned back to Isabella. "What did you say?" Isabella stood there. After a long moment, she smiled and waved at me. "Nothing. Be safe on your way." I nodded. After getting in the car, I glanced in the rearview mirror. Isabella was still standing there, the rain soaking her, but she didn't seem to notice. The car drove further and further away, and her figure grew smaller and smaller. Finally, she disappeared completely around a corner. I closed my eyes.